All right, welcome. Welcome to Crypto for the Rest of Us. Today we're going to talk about some news. It's not super new news, but within the last week, maybe 2 weeks, these are some topics that I thought were really interesting that I wanted to comment on. And so I'm just going to go through these. So, as we know about the market's certainly been not great, crypto market. Um, but we're looking at still bad inflation. And so I think the numbers came in today 8.6%. So the market is reacting to that. And we are still connected to the traditional markets. And so as those markets are going down, so is the crypto markets. So in this article from CoinGecko, and this was about a week ago, but you can say it says that the market is pretty much flat, and Bitcoin and Ethereum quickly reversing any gains. So really, we've been bouncing up and forth between that 30, 29 range, 31 for Bitcoin. ETH has struggled, hasn't really been able to get up to that 2,000 mark, which is, at this point, I don't think it really matters. At least for me, I'm a Bitcoin and Ethereum long term holder. And right now, I don't think it's great to be in a lot of other coins other than these two. But these two, they're going to go back up. I just look at them long term, but they do sort of tell us how the market is going. And so I thought what was interesting here is in this article, it says that we are now decoupling from the S&P for the second straight week. I don't know. Even this chart, I don't know. I guess what it was saying was that when the S&P went up, crypto stayed flat and didn't go up with it, which is fine with me. I'd really like to see us diverge from the traditional markets because we know as crypto enthusiasts that crypto doesn't need to behave like traditional markets do based on the dollar and based on the economy. We know that crypto is a world of its own, that it needs confidence and faith in the future and in the longevity and the ability of the projects to work. And that's what we believe in crypto. So I'd like to see it decouple. That would be great. So let's see. What else was in here? So it says that many are attributing the volatility of the market reacting after the contents of the new U.S. crypto bill entitled Responsible Financial Innovation Bill was released over the last 24 hours. This is now about a week and a half old news that this bill has been out. We'll talk about this more. But we can see it says that a bill almost never passes in its first iteration without any amendments. We're waiting for more clarity before commenting further on this. And that's true. We're going to see this week a lot more news came out about the bill, but really we don't know how it's going to land. And we're at the very, very, very beginning. So let's just take a little look at this bill. So this was the bill by Senator Gillibrand and Loomis, and it says, this was a quote of theirs: most cryptocurrencies go to the SEC. Bitcoin and Ether would certainly be commodities, and that's agreed upon, U.S. Senator Kristen Gillibrand said. That's a little bit cryptic, but here's the gist of it. United States Senator Kristen Gillibrand and Cynthia Loomis believe that most altcoins would likely be considered securities under their proposed new legislation, but they confirmed that Bitcoin and Ether will be classified as commodities. Loomis and Gillibrand both agreed with U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission Chair Gary Gensler assessment that most cryptocurrencies are securities under the Howey test. So I think that's interesting. Gillibrand pushed back on reports characterizing the legislation as making the Commodity Futures Trading Commission the primary regulator. I don't think the CFTC is a primary regulator, she said. They just have the obligation to regulate Bitcoin and Ether, the majority of the cryptocurrencies today, which is interesting. Bitcoin and Ether are the majority of the cryptocurrencies today. Just a misleading statement in there. They're not the majority. They may have the majority of market cap, but I don't know. I just find there's so much confusion out there, and people are just throwing stuff out there, and everybody in the crypto world is hanging on every word. This is going to change quite a bit, in my opinion, from when it finally gets enacted. The good news is they believe in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that they certainly see those as crypto assets that will flourish, and they believe that those can be left alone as they are. The other question is then, what about all the other altcoins, and what's going to happen to those, and how are they going to be regulated? If they're securities, I don't think that's good for us, because then we're going to be taxed like securities, and I don't really know, but we're going to look here in a minute at the Howey test and dive into a little bit. I saw an interesting article about it, but let's finish here. It says that Rostin Beanham, chair of the CTFC, was also at the event and took a slightly different view on the proportion of altcoins that are securities. He said that while there are probably hundreds of coins that replicate security coins, there are also many commodity coins, such as BTC and Ether, that should be regulated by the CFTC. Well, it's so funny because I don't consider BTC or ETH as altcoins. So again, it just goes to show you that the people outside, people in government and regulation, don't understand cryptocurrency, and so we really need to help them get up to speed. And they are. They're being helped by a lot of people that are in the crypto. We just need to make that happen sooner than later. Let's see. Tony Truce, head of the digital assets team at KPMG US, told Cointelegraph that the legislation under the current form is unlikely to move forward in its foreseeable future, adding it was unclear what coins will ultimately fall within the preview of the SEC versus the CTFC. And again, we know that. And so it's a long ways down there. But let's take a look at this Howey test. So this was an interesting little article I found, and it was titled When Howey Met Gary. And so on May 27th, 1946, William John Howey had his day in court and crypto lost. Another interesting title there. Howey owned large tracts of land in Florida, and he developed these into citrus groves, partially financially backed by lease-back agreements. He would sell parcels of his land mostly to guests of his nearby hotel, and then offer to build citrus groves on them with a cut of the profits going to the new owners. Because Howey's company did all the work, planting the trees, harvesting the crop, selling the oranges, regulators thought it looked less like a contracted service and more like an investment scheme. So the SEC argued that the orange groves are a common enterprise with the exception of profit solely through the efforts of others. And that's the key. If you get profits solely through the efforts of others, it appears to be a security. So the way I take that is a stock is representing partial ownership of a business, and the business does all the work, and you reap the profits if the stock goes up. So through the efforts of others. And so I believe it's really interesting, but there's lots of nuances to this. So the Supreme Court agreed, declaring the Orange Grove agreements were investment contracts, and therefore, as per the Investment Act of 1933, they are securities. And that 1946 ruling on the law from 1933 remains the sword of Damocles hanging over the head of the crypto industry in 2022. So yes, we are at the mercy now of this Howey test, which I think they got to come up with something new. I mean, come on, it's been how many years since we've had this simple, silly little test of orange groves? So what has happened is that Howey has been reinterpreted by the lower courts in increasingly expansive ways over the years, and I don't really get that. So it comes down, all this crypto regulation is going to come down to this Howey test, which is this orange grove guy in Florida. So is efforts of others inclusive of, say, developers or just C-suite type management conducting essential managerial efforts? Are those efforts the undeniably significant ones, which affect the failure or success of the enterprise? Or are they just executing on decisions made by token holders. So again, are these just businesses that have C-suite people that we normally see in corporations, that we have stocks that we can invest in or securities? Crypto and all the tokenization and all the coins and all the different projects don't behave. They aren't created as usual businesses. So I think there's a lot more detail they need to dive in before they can really make this, and just don't use the simple Howey test. So with the exception of Bitcoin, nearly everything could be a security under some reading of Howey. So yeah, I don't like this. I hope that this changes. So we'll see. But I'm not a pessimist. I'm not thinking that regulation is going to come in and you know secure everything and make it difficult for us to profit in crypto. And I also, though, am grateful for regulation. I really believe that we need some regulations to make more people feel safe and comfortable for getting into crypto. And as you and I know right now, crypto is the wide, wild west. Anybody can put up any project and do anything they want with it. And we just have to believe them right now. And so there is a need for some regulation. So we just don't want them to go too far overboard. All right, enough of that. So the next article this is kind of off the wall, but as I was learning about crypto, I heard about this guy named Neil Stephenson, who was the father who had coined the term metaverse. And so I looked into some of his books. I ended up downloading and listening to Snow Crash, which was the original book that had the word term metaverse in it. And so I saw this and I thought this was really neat. If you've never heard of Neil Stephenson and his books, you got to check them out. They're quite interesting science fiction books about the future. I find them really entertaining and interesting. And he's got a whole ton of books. But now, Neil Stephenson, the author who coined the term metaverse 30 years ago, is launching a metaverse focused blockchain project called Lamania One. He also revised his version of the metaverse, stating that the experience is likely to be geared more towards flat 2D screens rather than virtual reality or augmented reality, such as headsets and lenses, as the model proposed by Meta and Microsoft. Stevenson is a popular speculative fiction author who explored the concept of virtual reality, the virtual reality world, and he called it the metaverse in his sci-fi novel Snow Crash in 1992. So what's interesting is, yes, in that novel, everybody's in 3D with 3D goggles on, and they've created this, metaverse, which we kind of know now, this digital virtual world, but there's avatars, but you're using it all in the virtual reality sense. And I think it's smart because right now we're not there. We're not in that area, but we are definitely in the area of 2D and 3D on flat screens, just like games. And so this is the path. I'm convinced that this is the absolute right way to go, and how fun it will be to jump in, especially if you've read some of his books. Hopefully the environments that you're going to create will be similar to what we saw in some of the books. So again, I recommend definitely checking out his books. Yeah, that's about all there was on that. So yeah, it was, let me get back here. Yeah, so Snow Crash is good. I'm listening to another one. I think it's called The Diamond Age now, and they're just really fascinating predictions and ideas of the future. And they deal a lot with politics and governments and what they're going to look like in the future and geopolitical ramifications. It's fascinating and quite entertaining. So anyway, so that's it for the news today. And so stay tuned to more news and more articles. So I just dropped my What is Bitcoin video on the channel a couple days ago. And if you're into crypto and you've been in crypto for a while, all this will be repetitive, but it might be worth a check out. There might be a few things that maybe you will pick up that you didn't catch early on when you were learning about crypto. And if you're new to the crypto space, I think this will be a great place to start. I'm creating a whole series of what is videos that we'll be putting up on the channel. And so we'll do simple things like, what is blockchain? What is metaverse? We may certainly go into that at some point. But my goal in crypto for the rest of us is really to bring the concept of crypto to the rest of the world, if you're not a techno geek, or if you aren't a financial wizard, and that you've morphed into adding crypto to your portfolio. And I really want people to understand the basics of what crypto is about, why it came to fruition. I find that so fascinating. Bitcoin emergence. I don't think that if you're into crypto, if you don't understand why it was even created, because it's so new, right? I mean, most of the things that we deal with in life started a long, long time ago. This area, crypto is 10, 11 years old, and that's just nothing. And so we can really, most of us were alive when Bitcoin was created. And we know from the environment that's going on in financial situation in 2008, uh, where we had the financial meltdown. It was just interesting that Bitcoin emerged then in 2009. And then took off from there. And it's just had so much variation. So I go into a little bit of blockchain. I go into some mining. If you know a lot about cryptocurrency, that you could do 20, 30-minute videos on each of those topics alone. I wanted to focus on Bitcoin, but also I believe that to understand what Bitcoin is, you have to understand what blockchain is. You have to understand what money is. And I think you have to understand a little bit about the mining process and how coins are generated. And so I go into quite a bit of detail. It's a 20-minute video. I didn't start it off to be that long, but by the time I put everything I thought I need to touch on, 20-minute video. So yeah, enjoy and pass it on to your friends, especially people that don't know much about crypto. I will be doing another one. I don't think I'll do a blockchain one because I think there's enough about blockchain in here. If you find that, if you think I need to do another one on blockchain specifically, then give me some feedback. Let me know, post it here, and I can do that. But I will definitely be doing one on altcoins. We're going to certainly talk about Ethereum. We're going to talk about why Ethereum, and then this whole DeFi. We're going to go deep into that. I'm fascinated with DeFi. I think it's the first place that crypto is certainly disrupting and will continue to highly disrupt. And I think it's fascinating. So there we go. Anyways, all right. So stay tuned until the next Crypto for the Rest of Us. Bye now.